when Marco, come here, became 3.5, that's the normal time I'll start putting blankets and saddles on horses. I normally won't get on a horse before they're 3.5, 4 years of age because of I want them to be done growing. I want the knees to be closed. Come here. I want their knees to be closed. I want them to be fully developed before I start riding them. And that means if I do it like that, that means the horse is going to last well until their 20s and 30s with me. Or if I start getting on them when they're, year and a half, 2 years of age, their bodies are not fully developed. They're going to run into back problems, hock problems, knee problems, etc. So when it came to, introducing Marco to blanket and saddle, we went through all these exercises. And then the next thing was just to get the blanket and start putting it on his back. And we did this a number of times. We just, put it on his back, take it off. And we do this from both sides. If he was, if the horse was to take off on me, then he'd go right back to round pinning for a while, improve his performance in the round pin. And then, when I think he had enough, he'd come back up to me and we could do this again. What do you think he'd rather be doing? These stupid little exercises he doesn't want to do, or let me put the blanket on his back? He's going to want to sit here, okay, I'll be good, I'll just stand here, no problem. And let me put the blanket on his back. Alright, good boy. Then next came the saddle. So same thing with the saddle. I'll just, even if it was the first time, I just put the saddle on like he's been doing it all his life. Even if it's the first time any horse I've ever had it on, I'll just put it on like he's had it on all his life. And 99.9% of the time, there's no problem at all. It's when we start making a big deal out of it that it becomes a problem. It's when we start hesitating to put it on, it becomes a problem. If you just put it on like he's been having it on his whole entire life, it shouldn't be a problem. Alright. Stay there, Marco. Oh. When I was fixing him up the first time, I'd do this, and I would just put this under his belly, coming up a little bit. Then the first time I tighten it, I always tighten it loose enough to where the saddle's not going to come off, but I wouldn't get on. It's going to be that loose. I know that, if he did anything wrong, I know the saddle's not going to come off, but, it's not where I'm going to get on. After they feel pretty comfortable with the saddle, then I'll tighten it enough to where I would get on. There we go. Good boy. Come here. Yeah. Alright, we'll turn him around this way. When it comes to the first time mounting and dismounting, that's when 99% of the people get hurt today. It's getting on, getting off. It's not up here. It's not from the ground. It's getting off, or getting on, getting off, because the horse starts walking off. They start bolting off, either when we're getting on or getting off, is when they start moving, and that's when 99% of the people get hurt. They try to hang onto the saddle horn or something. They pull everything underneath the horse's stomach, and the wreck is on. And even though Marco does, and the horses that I train after 6 months, they do know how to accept the blanket and saddle down here. They already know what that's about, so if it ever came up in the horse's life, and they go, oh, no big deal. The horse should be able to accept the blanket and saddle anywhere on their body. So the second thing when we went into mounting, dismounting, and when if he was unbroke, I'd have a bridle on him, and he would know what the bit work is. But when I wanted Mark better at mounting and dismounting, so I started doing it without the bit. If he was to step out, step away when I was getting on him, he'd just go back to work. So the first time I'm mounting and dismounting, what I do is I'll put my leg in here, my foot right there, and then I'm going to take it out. And tell him he's a good boy if they stand still. If they don't, you can either do more bit work or you can do more round pin work. Each step that we do with these horses should lead into the next step at least by 50%. At least. So and then the second thing we did is we hopped around like this. We'd pat him on the butt, on the belly, take the foot out, tell him he's a good boy. Good boy. Then we'd go halfway up in the saddle. After he does that, with him I could say, no, that wasn't the answer. You need to stand still. I'm going to tighten the saddle up a little bit too. There we go. It's hard with Mark because he doesn't have a wither bone there, so it's a little bit tougher with him. So since Marco moved, we did automatically step down, have him reface you, or you can do bit work, or you can, you know, put him back to work in the round pen. Good boy. Nope. There you go. Then we'll just keep working on this. You know, again, I haven't done any of this with Marco in about 3 years. Nope. Good boy. So we'll work on this for a few minutes. Good stallion.
Right.
And then step down. And for sure, you know, if this stallion could sit here and learn to stand still while you're getting on and off without anything on his head, your geldings and mares should be able to do it a lot better. Not that stallions are stupid or anything. They're actually very intelligent. Alright, let me move. There you go. So if you took a step like that, that could be, I need to get my balance to be on my back. But I will not allow more than that. Alright. Good boy. And then comes the other side. Now it seems like when we go to the other side, this side's always 2 inches higher. Because we're used to getting on like this. Alright, so we go through all the same steps. Grab a hold of some mane and go up. That's a good boy. And then step down. I do this on all my unbroke horses and all the horses I train. Especially with the unbroke, because the first time I flip a leg over, I want to know what it's like on this side too. When I do start unbroke horses, before I ever get on them, I always ask myself the question: is this horse going to buck when I get on, or is he going to buck at all? If the answer comes back maybe, I don't get on. I just go back to doing more groundwork. The more times you hit the ground, the better your groundwork's going to get. Guarantee it. So the next step I would do, if he was unbroken, he's letting me go halfway down the saddle, is I'd go right up. Nope. As I go halfway up, don't you move. And I put my knee right here. Then the next step is going to be right here. And then if you have the bridle in his mouth, you just go ahead and start riding him around. You know. So go ahead and start riding. Keep going, Marco. Move. There you go. Yeah. And now we're up here, you know, riding a horse. And if I bring my feet pressure to the right, Marco should go to the right. If I come to the left, go to the left, Marco. We'll go to the right. He hasn't gone without a saddle or without a bit in his mouth for a long time. But go ahead and stop. He hasn't done anything without a bit in his mouth for a long time. If I really want to get going on this again, it'd probably take me a couple of weeks to retrain him on all this. And the muscle memory is already there. Good boy. And then, you know, I should be able to get off on any side I want on Marco. I should be able to get on and off any side you want. And it's all, you know, a lot of this is just the basics of getting on and off. Don't move. You know, it's just the basics. But every now and then, you know, things go wrong and we end up, you know,
pulling on his neck when we get off. And they need to be accustomed to that too.
You're unplugged.
Yeah.
Stop yelling at me.
There we go. So he needs to be accustomed to all that stuff too. Any horse does. You know, I'm not always going to get on perfectly and get off perfectly on my horse. So come here, Marco. So he needs to be accustomed to that too. They need to be used to all that kind of stuff. You know, especially if you have your friends come out and they want to ride your horse. You know, you got to make sure that horse is going to be safe. You know, they're your friend one minute, they get hurt on the horse, and they're no longer your friend anymore. You know, I've seen it happen a lot of times. You know, not with him, because you know, when I'm giving lessons on him, it's always supervised, and I don't let anybody just, you know, take off and start riding them. Most of the time they're on lead line or lunge line lessons with them, unless they're really advanced. But you know, I just won't let anybody get on them and, you know, take off riding. There was this one case not too long ago. I forgot where it was at, but this attorney just won this big lawsuit for this ranch. So they're all at the ranch, having a great time, and she says, I want to ride. I know how to ride. And that was the key word, I know how to ride. So the ranch guy said, okay. And he says, he's a reining horse, so here's the cues. Well, she got on him and cued him wrong, and he took off for a rundown, which means they're going down one side or the other and they're getting ready to slide. Well, she didn't know how to control it. She came off, and then she went after them and tried to sue them. And she lost. She lost because she already understood that when you're working or training or just riding horses, it is a dangerous sport. We could very easily get hurt doing this. So, yeah, be very picky if you have horses who let ride. Stuff like that. If nothing else, I'm going to go take some lessons. Then they can ride. But, the point is your horses. Marco. I didn't say move. There you go. That's a good boy. Now you can move. So that's about, where Marco is at as far as all the advanced round pinning. That's, your partnership with your horses is you start developing it here in the round pen by teaching them a bunch of cues and having them go by those cues, whether it's inside, outside turn, coming back to you, leaving, or whatever the case may be. Good boy. So, and this is also stallion obedience. When we were doing stallion obedience, I do the round pinning, then I have one of my friends start walking a mare up. If he got excited about that mare, he'd have to go back to work. So what Marco, so it's just like teenage boys in school with the teenage girls, they really like this girl, but she don't like him. But he pursues her. So one day she goes, all right, I'm going to take care of this. So, she makes friends with him, and, about a week later she says, will you go get me a coat? And he goes, okay, I'll go get you a coat. And he runs off and he grabs her a coat. And just as he gets back, she says, oh, I forgot my books in this classroom. Can you go get them? He goes, okay, and he runs and gets them. And just as, he gets back to her, she asks him to do something else, and something else, and something else. What happened was she made herself too much trouble for him. She was way too much trouble, and within a few weeks, she could not find that guy anymore. So, same thing with the stallions. With the mare training, we'll bring mares up, and if they start getting out of control, even name. I don't even know Marco name. Even name. We'll just send them back to work. And all of a sudden, those mares became way too much trouble for him to deal with. He doesn't want to deal with them anymore. They're too much trouble. Every time they come around, he has to go back to work. So pretty soon, he doesn't want anything to do with them anymore. So that's how we did the mare training. And then pretty soon, I'd tie a mare up to one of these, and we'd do all the training. And pretty soon, there's a mare there, a mare there, a mare there, a mare there, and a mare there. And he was to ignore him. He wasn't allowed to talk to him. He wasn't allowed to deal with him. Now, Marco does breed. We mainly use a phantom on him, which is how we collect stallions. Hey, no eating. Get your head up. That's how we collect stallions, just because it's really unsafe to do live cover. When you're doing live cover, there's a chance that the stallion's going to get kicked in the knee, or he could get kicked somewhere else, and now his career is over. His career is just over. So when we use the phantom, it's just a lot safer than you could artificial inseminate the mares. So Marco, the point is, Marco does know how to breed. He knows what the phantom is. He knows what mares are. When we put a different halter on him, so he knows the difference between halters. His normal halter is the halter I got over there. It's just a leather halter. His breeding halter is a rope halter. So if I put a rope halter on him, he's thinking, oh, good. He's thinking, great. But even at that, he still stays very much under control. And other things about stallions, if you ever decide to buy one or get one, they should all be this gentle. I've done this with warm bloods, thoroughbreds, quarter horses, salt. Half the breeds out there, I've got this with on stallions, because they're this well behaved. It comes down to the training. But with stallions, it's a little bit different than owning your mare or your gelding. Mares and geldings, you come out, basically see them when you want, whenever you want. With stallions, you've got to give them that everyday attention. You've got to do it. Marco will stay this way. He'll stay this good if I give him his everyday attention. You're smelling something. If I give him this everyday attention, he'll stay this good for me. If I start ignoring him, he's going to bite, he'll strike, he'll kick. Because stallions strive for that attention, and he's going to get his attention one way or another. I will either be good for you and I'll grab your attention, or I'm going to fight you and I'll get your attention. Feed on me if you want. I don't care. At least you got my attention. That's how they do. That's how they think. Stallions also, when they do something really good and they know they did something really good for you, they'll want to stop and be petted. They said, didn't I do a good job? Don't I deserve to be petted? During those type of situations, let's say I picked up a really nice canter depart, selected to the left, and Marco says, oh, didn't I do good? I'm going to say, yes, you did. I'm going to go ahead and rest my inside hand on his shoulder, but keep going. Because every time he does something good, I don't want him to come to a standstill and say, I did it good, don't I get a stop? That's not what I want him to do. If he does that in the show ring, then we just blew the show. Also stallions, come fall time, he's going to think the world just ended because the breeding season is now over. So he doesn't think there's any reason to go on living. They'll get a little depressed, a little lethargic during that time. Then, of course, in the springtime, he's got all this energy again and very excited and happy-go-lucky guy. All right, so does anybody have any questions? No? All right, well, thank you for coming. We'll be doing it again tomorrow. Thank you. Good boy. All right, don't move.